on this beautiful sunny evening. My name's Ange Fitzgerald. I'm one of the science education team members from Monash Uni. So this is the 5th of our series in engaging science seminars, and I'm really very excited to hear a lot more about the general science education program and reflections really on what's been happening here at Sandringham College from the perspectives of a past student. So I'd like to welcome Jess, who is an MTeach student who graduated in the middle of this year and is now at Keysborough College, and will speak about the program from her perspective. I've got my colleagues Keasty, Karen and Beck, who all work as science teacher educators and will speak from their experience, and then Wilco, who will speak as the head of science here in the junior campus. So thanks, I'll hand over to you guys. Thank you. And there'll be questions at the end, so please do have a little think about what you might like to ask.
All right, thank you very much for all the introductions. It's a real pleasure for us to be here tonight, and particularly to present as a team, because that's actually been quite an important aspect of the work that we've done, is the fact that we've done it really as a team from day one. So we begin a long time ago in a galaxy not so far away. There was a man named Wilco. And Wilco got in touch with the Professional Experience Office at Monash University and said, I'd really like to be more involved in the education and preparation of science teachers. So we came out and we had a meeting with Wilco, and any of you who know Wilco will understand when I say to you, I left this meeting entirely exhausted and not really sure what would happen next. But Wilco's idea was that he wanted to be far more involved with what happened from the university end. He wanted to be a mentor to as many general science teachers as he possibly could be. And so we, of course, said, yes, fantastic. We'd love to have you as part of our team. So Monash started last year with a co-teacher program, which involves getting practicing teachers to come in and work in some of the method units at the university. So we've had Wilco as part of our general science education teaching team. So the teaching team from the Monash side is Keasty, Karen and myself, and we added Wilco to our merry band. So Wilco's involvement included the planning of the unit, inclusive of the content and the assessment. It included what happened in the workshops. It included the overall ideas that were involved in our general science education unit, and it included the delivery of that content and those 2 units. But Keasty will elaborate a little bit more on that. Once we had this idea, we came back to the school and said, you know, you've got this teacher Wilco and he's cooked up this plan. But right from the very beginning, we had the support of the school, and in particular the principal at the time and the principals ongoing since then. And that has been entirely essential in what we've been able to achieve, and the fact that we've been able to achieve it so quickly. Because we were given great access to not only Wilco, but to the facilities here, and to all of the science staff at both the senior campus, the junior campus, and the lab technician staff, and I saw her sitting here before. We've had the entire school behind the program, which has made a significant difference to what we've been able to do and how quickly we've been able to do it. Really, what this year has been, and what we're about to talk about now, is us learning about the school learning about us, and how we can actually both work together in effective ways to support quality learning for pre-service science teachers. And I have to add that it's really nice to see so many of them in the audience tonight. So they can attest very strongly to what we say, and I like to think that their presence here is a little bit of a testament to the job that we've done. It is definitely still early days of the partnership, so we've only done this for the 12 months, but I think it's fair to say that we're all really excited by being a part of it. I think we're very pleased with what we've achieved in 12 months. I think we've come a really long way, and it's now my pleasure to hand over to my colleagues to tell you a little bit more about how we've meshed the university classes with the school experience at Sandringham. So Keasty, over to you.
Thanks, Beck. It was interesting first because when I first heard about this program, Beck said, oh, guess what? I've got this guy who works out at Sandringham. You've never heard of him. I said, and she said, Wilco. I said, oh, I think I know Wilco from a long time ago. And so Wilco and I went on the Schoolboys Australian Cross Country Championships together in Alice Springs, and we both represented Victoria. So when we were young and fit boys.
And thin.
And thin. So I said, wow, how about that? So I know Wilco from a while ago. One of the things is this is part of our general science program. Now at Monash we offer the sciences, physics, chemistry, biology, psychology and general science. And this is just the general science part we're talking about tonight. So we're trying to teach how you teach in the junior school all of the sciences. We don't take that approach by saying this week's about biology and this week's about chemistry. We try and do an integrated approach. So we teach bits and then we try and unpack it in terms of where is the science. And that's really important. Key aspects of the unit are that we really value trying to make links to the outside world for the students. We want to have our pre-service teachers understand that kids really learn science when they can make links to the outside world and it's not cold and it's not inside the textbook and inside the classroom. That's really important for us. And we do a number of things that I'll go through tonight and explain. Team teaching has been really important in this unit for about 10 years now. Beck started team teaching with me, and at first it was sort of a little research project we were running where one of us would teach and the other one would observe, and then we would swap over and the second one would teach and the other one would observe. And I was supposedly the expert because I'd been there for a couple of years and Becca was new to it. And so she'd watch me teach and her lessons always turned out better because over lunch we'd have a discussion and she'd be able to implement the changes and it was really interesting. I'm thinking, hang on, I thought I was supposed to be the expert here. Anyway, after about a year or so, or 2 years, it became more blended and Beck would be part of my teaching and I'd be part of her teaching until it became, after about 3 or 4 years, totally team teaching. But really important in that is not just one taking one bit and one taking the other bit. We like to stop and then in the moment try and unpack why we're doing what we're doing. So our pedagogy is explicit to the students. And not always do they see that, but that's what we try and do. So there'll be times when we stop and say, well, why are you doing it this way? And we'll explain why. What's the purpose behind why we're doing this? Okay? And that's really important for us so that the pre-service teachers not only see that we're modelling teaching, but why we're doing it the way we're doing it. The challenges for us, we'd like to challenge the pre-service teachers about what science can look like. What can science teaching look like and what does science look like? Because often they've come out of their university degree. Many of them in our course come from doing research. They might have been research scientists for a number of years, then they've come into teaching as a change of career. They have a view of science that's very technical, which is great, doesn't always work in the classroom. And so the first week we always make pancakes. And this is really interesting because I set it up as a recipe to make pancakes, but behind it is all the stuff that happens in the lab about experiments. Now it's funny, because it's a cooking class, they don't treat it like it's systematic. They don't treat it like it's an experiment, yet they all have science degrees. They treat it, it's different because it's cooking. They often don't see that making pancakes is about chemical reactions and chemical change. So what underpins this lesson is actually a whole heap of chemistry. Some of the junior year 7 chemistry stuff. So this is my first introduction to them about how we can change how we teach science and how we can make it real. One of the challenges we give them is how they understand science and how you can explain it to young children that you're teaching, like year 7 and 8. And so at the end of the first lesson, as we're unpacking pancakes, I give them this little problem. Can they explain dissolving of salt and sugar in water? And it sounds quite easy, but most of them take the things that they were told in school. And that is that when you drop the sugar into the water, the volume doesn't increase very much because the sugar particles fit in between the water particles. It's a common explanation in junior science. And I go, oh, that's interesting. So the sugar particles fit in between the water particles. They go, yeah, that's what I got taught at school. Interesting. How big is a sugar particle compared to a water particle? So sucrose is like this and water's like this. So if these little ones are like this, where are the gaps that these big ones fit into? And so what I get them to do is start rethinking the science that they've learnt and how they're going then to explain it to students. I also give them salt. When I say salt dissolves, they go, yep, yep. So I go, it dissolves. When I taste salt, I can taste it's salt. They go, yep, yep. When I taste salty water, I can taste it's salt. They go, yep, yep. But I get in salt water, it's disassociated. The particles have separated and they're held in solution. So what am I tasting when I taste the two things? They go, oh, never thought of it like that. So there's a challenge. So all the time I'm challenging their science as well as their science teaching. Again, we think about how they're going to teach it. We look at many facets of student engagement. We don't just look at effective and behavioural engagement, we also think of cognitive engagement, having them engaged in the learning. If we can get the students engaged in the learning, it's half the battle for us. So one of the things we use on the left is an episode out of Grey's Anatomy, Through You Like a Train. In this episode, they have to actually decide who's going to live or die. They can only save one person. It's heart-wrenching. When students have done this in school, this episode, and Beck's taught this in school, they get highly engaged because they think there's a strong justice reason behind it. If you're in a hospital, doctors should be able to save both of you. So they want to find out why the doctors couldn't save both. It's a fantastic lead into teaching body systems because they're integrated now. You can't teach a nervous system separate from the circulatory system, separate from the skeletal system. Because when the pole goes through the girl here and it takes out T8, she's paralysed from the waist down. Why is that? Because that's part of the skeletal system. But the spine contains a nervous system, so there's a link between the two. So suddenly all these things become together about life. Another one that we do, which is agentic engagement, is we have this last week, we always talk about volcanoes. Okay? Volcanoes is one of the best weeks, isn't it, Maria? Because I tell them for the 2 weeks leading up, we're going to do volcanoes, it's really exciting, they're all coming along, but it's actually about sex ed, the things they have to teach, and it's quite confronting about what they know and don't know. And that's something about, again, how do you teach that? Because in science we often get the plumbing, don't we? But we need to know what that is. So again, I'm teaching them about different things, or we're teaching them about different things, and we're unpacking it as we go all the time while we're doing it. Experience in the school environment's been lacking. We used to, many years ago, take away a camp and have, we used to bus kids in to partake, to try and get that experience. What's been happening this year, we've been working with Wilco, and these are some of the things that we've been able to do that are quite different. Challenge them about what science means. We had a number of different activities at the end. We had some activities outside where we took away sight and we made them feel the environment, just what students would be. It's amazing how when you walk down a little slope but you're blindfolded, it feels like you're going down this really steep slope. And it highlights what happens when we take away one of our senses. So these are some of the activities we've been able to do that we're trying to show that it's really engaging. And so now I'll hand over to Wilco.
Thanks, Keasty. So let me give you a rundown. Some of you have probably been in this situation already. So here's your typical staff meeting, yeah? So principal, sorry Amy. Principal on the left there, and the staff all excited, as you can see. And the principal says the following: anyone want a pre-service teacher? Only for 3 weeks. And if you've been a staff member, you know that happens all the time, and you kind of sit there and you think of this. Everyone thinks the same thing. Okay? And this was me. This was me for the last, few decades. And you go, oh, look, I'll only take it because I feel sorry for you. Okay? I'm not taking it for the money, I'm taking it because I feel sorry for you. And I'm going to literally drag around this pre-service teacher with me. Okay? And I'm just going to drag them. And come on. Get excited. So this is the pre-service teacher. And as a mentor, you're going, there's a desk there, just push away my papers and you can sit there and that's what it was, and that's what it was here. And so the more we were asked, the more people said, oh no, we don't want to do it. So we didn't have many student teachers here, not at all. So what happened was this. You've been given a great opportunity to coach pre-service teachers, anyone interested. I think one of the things is the way you state it. So if you're in that power and you're offering pre-service teachers, I think it's the way you state it first. This is a great opportunity for me. Now my time, not on earth, but my time in teaching is limited, and I want to give back. I really want to give back what I've learnt. I want to take a young teacher and give her, instead of Jess waiting 30 years to get like I am, which is, you don't want to go bald, but yeah, that's teaching. But so I can give her 30 years experience and more. And so she doesn't have to wait round. I guess that's what it's all about. And you'll see, look at these people. This is me. And this is what we're thinking. This is what we're thinking now. This is what I'm thinking. Okay? Oh, collaboration, success, we're sharing, there's teamwork, trust, inspiration, exchange, assisting, supporting. It's a very different world. And the different world is the way you plan it. So I was this person dragging around, and I said to the teacher who every time went into the staff, everyone went, roll their eyes, now here we go, asking more pre-service. I said, look, this is ridiculous. As Beck said, let's just go straight to the source and say, I want to do it differently. So I sat down with her and I said very critically, this is what I want to do. Blah, 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 blah. Let's just bring in heaps of them. Let's bring in all of them. Let's bring in hundreds of them. She said, no, but let's just bring in the whole lot and let's teach them together. Okay, let's teach them together. Okay, it's not this, dragging around a chain. It's in fact, I'll explain it to you. So have a look at this. This is what it is. We have a room set up in our new science labs. It's called the think tank. It's for kids, but we give it to our student teachers, and that's where they sit, and that's where they actually talk. They discuss, they share. Now imagine someone doing this, if Jess was my student teacher on the chain and she's sitting down at desk talking to herself. Well, she wouldn't pass, would she? She's mad, okay? And she, there's nothing you can do. And I was talking to my student teachers today. I said, what do you love about it? And I said, it's the sharing. Okay, and it's a sharing with peers, not with me. I don't want to share. I've got other classes to do in that sense, okay, in the old system. This is them sharing, and they go, wow, I had this idea. Oh, well, I've got this idea. And they just go on their own way. It's fantastic, okay? And they'll come to me and they'll go, look, we've got this idea. I say, well, just do it. Do it. Surprise me, okay? I've been surprised sometimes too. So it looks like this. It's us versus the problem, not you versus me anymore. So as a team, you versus me is Jess and I. Sorry, Jess. Jess and I, my single student teacher, and it's just us bantering sometimes, okay? Jess can't go anywhere. I've said, Jess, look, try doing this. And she'd go away going, oh, freaking idiot, I've tried this. And she can't dump the stuff on her friends. And this is what this is about. It's dumping your stuff on your friends, on your other pre-service teachers. That's what you want. You want them to share. You want them to grow. And they're, I'm an old geezer. I know nothing. Okay? Well, so try achieving this by yourself, Jess. Okay? So I'm not going to ask you, Jess, because it's impossible. Try doing that by yourself. Okay? This is what they do when they come out of their class that they've taught. They get together and they start linking ideas and sharing. And I think that's the key. If you're going to look at your student teacher and how it operates in your school, this is the key. It's group. So, for example, when was it, April, we had 32 students here, 32 pre-service teachers. We had 16 here and 16 on the senior campus. And then in August, we swapped them over. So juniors went to them, and a very, very different experience. Very different. And then at the moment, currently we've got 9. So they were the first lot of teachers in, round 1s. Then we had round 2s, and we're learning, as we've said, we've only been here for 12 months doing it, that round 3 and 4, you need smaller numbers. So I've only got 9 at the moment. And I wouldn't want to go higher than 9, because they need to get that, they're starting to want to get that quality teaching with their own class, so to speak. In the other ones, with a 16, they're working in pairs, often in one class. So I'd take 2 or 3 groups of them. And they'd work with me. And then my other science teachers would take another 2 or 3. And I've got to say, it has to be a team effort. We're exhausted. And this is the first time we've done it, we're absolutely exhausted. And it's tiring work. I'm telling you, my staff don't do it, it helps, but we don't do it for the money. We've kind of got the same philosophy that we want to get great teachers and make them even better. That's kind of the philosophy. And it's exhausting, it is, it really is. The first round is exhausting because it's their first time in the school. So we have to teach them everything, that's okay. Second round's a little bit easier, although we get them from the senior campus. So they come with, that's fascinating, they come with different ideas, and they come in and they go, oh my gosh, this is genius. What's the hell's going on? Well, they're kids, they're students, you know. Seniors are walking around and, you know, cool, you know. But it's very different. But the third years, like I said, the third placements, they really need to have that quality time in the classrooms. So I'll finish off with this. It's sometimes I don't know why I put this in, but it's the butterfly effect, okay? And the whole thing is, why I'm doing it is this. It's because of this. I know I went, oh, when I found it, okay? Isn't it? This is what you want to affect. You want the kids and your student teachers just to butterfly how fascinating it is and how exciting you make it. So to finish up, that is exciting. Now, all you're going, and I didn't know this, I found it fascinating. Where is she? Marie France, where are you? Marie France up here, ex-student, come back to teaching. That's another story. So, oral B. Anyone not brush their teeth? Don't put your hand up.
I don't anymore after tonight.
Yeah. Now, this is one of the reasons why I do it. You actually learn, amazing, you learn from younger teachers. Or they're not even teachers yet. Well, they are, but they're not, you know what I mean. So this stuff here, one of my students, we're doing water with the Year 7s. We've combined team teaching with humanities and stuff. If you take this, squeeze a little bit into a beaker and mush it round, put a bit of salt to make the density, and you get this blue stuff coming to the top. And it's plastic. They're microbeads. There's plastic in this stuff. That's what makes you grind your teeth to clean it. Okay, it's amazing. I couldn't believe it. What the hell? I've been mucking around with all day under microscopes and stuff. It's absolute, and this is one of the things that you learn, and it's hard to learn from one teacher. But as a group, they start talking and we start sharing, even start sharing with me, awesome, and I learn stuff. So I'm learning stuff. That's the buzz I get out of it. I'm actually learning, and I'm obviously going to be open to it, but I'm learning stuff from these guys and girls, and hopefully they're learning stuff from me. So that's...
non-scientists, we'll go tell them the science in that.
Sorry?
What about the microbeads? What's the important part?
Well, it's just exciting. But we're actually doing, so we're actually doing plastics in the environment. So we've gone to this, and it'll blow the kids' minds. You know, where's it go? It goes into you. Really? Yeah. And where else does it go? Well, it goes down into the water sewage farm, and it's so fine, into the environment, and the students are showing DVDs and all this type of stuff, and then they start thinking, wow, hang on, you know, this is not right. And so you start to get this moral dilemma, this ethical dilemma, and that's when you get the spark. And that's what these students are doing. They're sharing this idea. One, if Jess had the idea as stuck on the ball and chain, then would Jess get excited? Probably not. Because who's she going to share it with? So I do encourage you, if you're looking at a program like this, for me, the teamwork, it works. And my staff get excited, and we're always learning, and you can't help but reflect on your own teaching. It really does make you a better teacher. You have to be a better teacher, because if you're doing something, a quick story, one of the teachers said to one of the students, look, I'm going to teach, have a look and tell me how I went afterwards. And basically he goes, how did I go? And he said, you were shit house. I'll leave you with that. Thank you.
Work on how to give them.
Oh, I better take the clicker.
Toothpaste?
No, you can keep that one.
It's on.
Beautiful.
Right one.
Thank you. So I'm going to share what it was like to be a teacher on a placement here. obviously I'd done a couple of the ball and chain ones. They weren't that bad, they're actually quite good, but this was very, very different to the typical style. So I also want to talk about how it really linked into what we'd learned at uni during our lectures and our workshops, and yeah, just some of the extra things that I got out of this experience. So first impressions, you've just had first impressions from Wilco, larger than life. We came when he was moving from the old science building to this one. There were boxes everywhere. He had projects, student work, and we're just looking at all this stuff going, oh, what's going on? And then he started telling us stories about his students, and at the same time we're meeting 7 other teachers, getting to know them very quickly. And what we quickly established was that this was going to be a high energy placement and full of enthusiasm and full of fun. So yeah, it was a good setting the scene for what was to come. So the first thing that we did was Wilco paired us up with tables with his Year 7 STEM class. So we each had a table that we tutored for a couple of weeks. And this really linked back to our very first experience with the pancakes, where both of our first lessons were, I tell you, this is Wilco's quote, I tell you now, teaching's not about the curriculum, it's about the kids. If you can't relate to the kids, you can't teach them. Okay, and so that was really the message from Keasty in our very first exercise, making the pancakes, where he took that time to relate to us. I still won't forgive him for teasing me about the lumps in my pancake batter. I thought I was a good cook until that experience. So yeah, and throughout this, I'll keep linking it back to how it built and consolidated some of that learning that we got from uni. So then we got our brief. Wilco mentioned the think tank. So basically we got told, there's your think tank. Your brief is to design and implement a 2-day Year 7 ecology immersion field trip. No guidelines, just free rein, do what you like. And so we were kind of a bit baffled at first. And actually there was a 3rd day back here where they could present some of their findings. So it was really 3 days. But yeah, so we got to kind of go in with these fresh faces. Some of them, we knew a little bit from uni, but not too well. And said, okay, what are we going to do? So it was really an opportunity that we thought, okay, so what have we learned at uni? So we were, towards the end of our degrees. We thought, okay, we've got 3 days, how much stuff can we put into this? Because often when you're on the placements, you're really pressed for time and you can't do everything. And so here we kind of had this opportunity to do everything. So we thought, okay, what have we learnt about? We've learned about unearthing preconceptions. We've learned about, hang on, I wrote these down because I knew I'd forget them. We learn about catering to a range of learning styles. So doing lots of different kind of activities to appeal to, different types of learners. Big ideas. What are the big ideas? What do we actually want them to take home from this? At the end of the day, what do we want them to remember? Creating memories as well. And also, we framed it, we also kept in mind, one of our lectures was on science as a human endeavour. And so we framed the whole excursion around the Lorax to try and get them thinking about different spaces and why we have them. So that, I should have mentioned. So this is the Sandy Heathland, and the excursion was to go to Ricketts Point, the Sandy Heathland, which is a local reserve, and also Allenby Park, which is a local playground. And so, yeah, we're basically taking the kids to learn about those different spaces. And also a chance to team teach, which we'd seen modelled beautifully at uni, but on a regular placement, you definitely don't have a chance to do that at all. So we got down to work and we did make a booklet, but this is just a couple of the different things that we did. So we collaborated using a Google Doc. So during the day we were all talking, and then at night we were typing over the top of each other, just keeping the planning going. We tried to do a couple of different things, like instead of doing quadrat kind of sampling, we got them to take photos through cardboard tubes, and we made a wonder wall where they could, if they started to wonder about something, they could stick it on the wall, and then they made presentations later. So it's just a couple of examples of different things we did. And the excursion went pretty well. Most things turned out pretty well. It was really windy down at Ricketts. And so that was the perfect thing, is we could come back and go, okay, how could we have done it better? So it was our chance to reflect and say, okay, so this worked, this didn't. And that was, you know, really core to that process of having all those teachers there. So 2 of them are here. We made a virtual field trip. There was a range of literacy. So it wasn't just a STEM class that we took. We took 100 Year 7 students to on this excursion. And then we'd learnt in one of our lectures about using augmented reality to engage students. And so we thought, okay, well, here's a chance. We've got 8 of us. Let's make an augmented reality field trip. And so we set that up for them to, they could basically take their iPads and scan the photo and revisit some of the sites that they did, that they'd visited on the field trip. And yeah, it just gave them the chance to build their understanding. And that's not something that I think we would have really had enough time on a traditional placement to do. And just to sum up, a couple more things that we did: propellers with the grade 3s. Wilco had us dressing up as chefs serving food. The take-home messages that I keep coming back to all the time: if they're not having fun, if you're not having fun, then they're not. And passion promotes passion. And Wilco's other catchphrase, it's not a catchphrase: all I want is that when students leave school, they're socially acceptable and confident. And so that's some of the things that I just keep coming back to as I'm now teaching, and reflecting on that with some of the guys. So in summary, I've made my list as well, yeah. So the team teaching placement was a real chance to, as I've said, consolidate our uni learning, try some of the things by having the extra time. So the extra people kind of gave us extra time. Really inspire our passion for putting the fun back into the classroom, which was awesome. Group reflection, that was really key to this placement. And also some long-term friends now that we're still in touch, and we've catch up for dinner, and we've got a Facebook group where we share jobs and and what we're all doing now. So yeah.
Tell them what it's called.
Oh, it's called Mentos. What is it? Monash Education Teachers of Science. Yeah, that was Wilco's invention. So yeah, cool. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Karen.
Thank you, Jess.
All right.
And you've probably got a few more here to sign up. So it's good to
yeah.
see. I'm going to be talking to my past students about what they did on placement. That sounds a bit... I'm Karen. My role, I was fortunate enough to teach as part of the teaching unit for general science, and I was also what we call the professional experience tutor, or the Monash liaison for those who are on placement at Sandy. So we thought I'll just quickly tap into that aspect. But before I start, we're not talking about senior campus here tonight, but I want to send out a really big thank you to Peter Hamilton and his team. They're fantastic the way they've supported our large groups of our students this year. And another quick thank you to Wilco. I'm kind of doing this back to front with the thank yous. And I can see Ingrid there, and I just want to acknowledge you because you did spend a day with us here on intensive, so thank you for that. And Deb, the lab tech, as well. And probably to the pre-service teachers, and there's a number here today. For those of you who've just done this placement, we've now seen this idea run for a full year. But for you to come in here, you're actually putting yourselves up to a new experience, something quite different to other placements. So I just want to acknowledge that it's been fantastic for you to be open to those new experiences and ready to give it a go. So here we are at the end of an intensive. Pretty keen. We've done a lot of teaching, we've used this space. Probably most of the pre-service teachers have gone up here and stood just here and helped go through activities or a little bit of team teaching. They've watched us team teach in different ways. They know all the classrooms in this school. That's before they start placement. So for me as their Monash tutor, when they started placement, if I had to pick probably 3 areas that I think went well, and I've summarised this because we really didn't know how long the other bits will go. I found as a tutor a really smooth transition for our pre-service teachers to come to this placement. Just remember that we have a really diverse lot. Many of them have made really clear choices to change their career patterns. So they've done something else and they've given up and they've gone into M-Teach. Most of our students are Masters of Teaching, and others have been thinking about education and been studying in a B.Ed for 3 years before they start this placement. So they start with all different starting points, all different experiences, and you normally get, I don't know, I think as teachers we all remember our placements. And it's a very exciting time to finally get to go on placement, and it's also a really anxious time. You know, will I be good enough? Some of these self-doubt little bits come in, and to come to this placement, what I saw, I didn't get so much of that anxiety. They were still very nervous, and they were very nervous because they said, my gosh, Wilco, he's going to tell us we have to do this and we can take over the class and it's up to us to make these decisions and work together. But they're doing it in a really safe, supportive manner. So it felt just like a smoother transition and an easier transition both from my side and from the pre-service teachers. And you can tell me, there's a lot of people here you can check to see if I'm on the right path with that. The other point that I found that was fantastic, and I think we've all talked about that, is working in a professional learning team. They're coming here as pre-service teachers, getting that respect and that ownership and that responsibility, sense of agency and voice I've got there. So it's them working together to talk about what are we going to do to engage our students. I loved coming in and listening to all the teacher talk about what's happening in the classroom, who was learning what students, what can they do with this group of students to help them get engaged, what else can they do to get that passion across for learning of science. It's fantastic talk amongst pre-service teachers. And it wasn't as if, like when I came in on my visits, most of the time I couldn't even catch Wilco's eye. We might see each other in the corner and that was about it, because schools are such busy environments that our pre-service teachers normally have a hard time having those really important conversations with mentors, not because they don't want to, it's because it's so busy. So it was fantastic to see them all in the think tank just talking about student learning and what to do next. That team effort, absolutely unbelievable, and a real credit to the students here. So for me, it was really easy as the professional experienced tutor. Really easy for me to monitor their learning. I could be in touch with Wilco. I really liked how the students looked out for each other and supported each other as well, so I'd get some of that feedback. And I think they could monitor their own learning more than ever before, because they were having these critical conversations with each other. So yeah, that was great bonus. So to go on this placement, they had to be open-minded, they had to take initiative, they had to step up for that responsibility. They had to be resilient and go outside their comfort zone. It's not easy to suddenly take over all these things. But in the end, I think they're qualities that schools want. You're going to be great teachers. And so there was excellent transformation, to the point that when I came for one visit, I couldn't even recognise them. They were, one great thing here, they were going above and beyond what they were getting involved in other programs, and this included Open Night, and I hear it was a great success, Wilco, with the Star Wars themes. So we're looking forward to what's next year's theme. So, and we're just starting to explore the initial feedback. I don't think we're going to see the real impact yet, probably for another year. It's going to be interesting, those on placement now, what their next placement's going to be like in a totally different school, and then it's going to be interesting those who have just finished, how you're going to reflect back on this placement next year. So we're just kind of getting initial bits and pieces from our students. Most of it's really positive. So loved the structure, loved how it kind of all blended together. The team teaching, well, we're all very different and all very passionate. And the intensives, fantastic reviews. And I better put some improvement needed from the students, what they've told us. Interesting, we were really interested with some of the intensives. We had a couple that really didn't like the intensives. Most people liked them. And then some people to the extent they want more intensives. Now, an intensive was a full Saturday. So we started, 8:30? We went, it's meant to be 4, but I think we got over excited and 4:35 by the time we finished. So they ended up really, some wanted more intensives. Some also wanted more workshops and more lectures. I've never had that from students before, so I don't know what that means. We'll have to break it down and I'll need more feedback on that. And others wanted more assessment. So we're going back to the bench and we've seen that run for a whole year now. We know more about the context and the school and Wilco and how we all work together. So we'll have to have another look at how we're running those workshops. So we take this as our great pilot year. We're pretty excited about what's happened this year and we can see this developing into the future. We've got a lot of learning to take from here. There's been some challenges, so obviously, and we'll need to work through them. You know, working in a group is challenging, but it's been fantastic to see how that's how students have worked things out and it's evolved. So next year, we're really committed to making this a long-term sustainable partnership, and we're all here and passionate about learning of science. We're more than willing to work with staff, both here and at Monash, to build this capacity and make sure it is a long-term thing after, you know, other people can easily step in and run this program. We'll be looking at our general science units again, and again at the professional experience. As you heard, Wilco was talking about numbers and how many and who's here, and we'll have to work closely with the professional experience office and nut some things out to make it even better, more enjoyable experience, and just watch our students as, it's quite proud of them to see. It was great to come in today and see them all talking once again about what happened today in their class and where they're going to take it with their with their students tomorrow. So great things ahead. How's that? Passion. I think that's about it. Is that time?
Thank you. Fantastic. So now it's over to you all for some questions. Len, right into it.
My question is, if this Monash and Sandringham thing becomes a good thing, something really great's happening here, how then does it get promulgated into the wider school system?
One of the things I think we'd be looking for is looking for other schools to take on groups of our pre-service teachers in a similar fashion, that rather than the old model of just taking one at a time, being able to take 5 or 6 with the one teacher and working in teams across a number of your classes with you, and, you know, doing the sorts of things we've done here. At the moment, we're looking to see if this is a model we could roll out. Was it possible? Was it feasible? How would it affect all the people involved? How much of a burden was going to be on us and Wilco? And now we think that it's a model that we might be looking to roll out into others.
It's certainly not an individual thing that we want to hold. We want to share it. That's why we're doing it tonight, obviously.
And Kirsty and I are about to try something similar but on a much smaller scale within our school, within our local area.
Which school would that be?
I want to mention that because it's been the processes of putting things together. I'll tell you later.
Okay.
And this was in the discipline of science, because I'm science. So, I mean, we could at the school we could go humanities or we could go English or whatever.
And I have to say that actually having Wilco involved in the teaching of the unit makes a significant difference, and particularly one for us because it is about us learning about the school environment that our students are working in, but also Wilco understanding how the university works and how the unit's taught, but also Karen's notion about the transition then to placement.
Yeah.
They already knew Wilco, he'd already taught them. So it made a significant difference that that mentor teacher was involved in the actual construction and implementation of the unit itself. And again, that's what Keith and I are about to trial again.
I think the other part is working with somebody that has similar values about what science education might look like.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talk about the pancakes model with Wilco. He goes, "Oh yeah, I'd do that too." You know, he wouldn't say, "Oh no, that's not how you teach junior chemistry. It's got to be," you know, that's something about who you want to work with as well. I think is important in
And
the
the-
process.
The teachers here at the school have been really open to thinking about what is this thing called team teaching and how are we going to support them, and they've made changes along the way. How do we give feedback, for instance? And that might be, so there's a whole lot of things there we can think about for next year too. They've been fantastic.
The really good thing I've found is that Monash is not this institution on a hill and they're just sending out student teachers. You know, I'm part of that now, and I understand their thinking and their philosophies and ethics, and like Keith was saying, you know, I'm meeting these guys and teaching them on Saturdays and intensives, and it's fantastic. But that's the big thing, is it's just a wall being removed between our school and Monash. And that can only be good.
Other questions? Would you provide some sort of similar experience in primary schools?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually I had with one of my other method classes. Yeah, we did a little bit with primary this year, which was interesting. And there are partnership programs involving primary schools as well. But yeah, there you go. Get in touch. Off to Beck.
There's plenty of them in class at the moment where primary schools are taking significant numbers of our students. The students are working predominantly in triads, but the triad involves the classroom teacher, so it's a pair of pre-service teachers with a classroom teacher. And there's quite a few of those at the moment.
The other key thing when we were setting up here was to find a room for the pre-service teachers and not have them spread amongst the school staff, but have them, that's the whole thing, is have them in a group so the communication between them can go ahead.
Because I think that sharing of your understanding as you build it is important. You come back from a class saying, oh, well, that didn't work, but what will I try next time? Somebody else saying, well, yesterday I tried a bit of this with that group, can you try it? And that sort of sharing is really important.
But on top of that, us modelling it. So they would see a team of us working together and get the idea, this is how we design.
Some of the things that we talk about, and Wilco's been modelling here, is treating the pre-service teachers as knowledge producers, not just knowledge acceptors. We're not, here's the knowledge.
Yeah.
They're actually out there creating the knowledge for themselves rather than us telling them. That's been a big change.
Can I tell a funny story?
You can.
Wilco rang me one day and said, look, this is just going really well. I think I'd really like to take more, but we've got a problem. I think one of the things that's working really, really well is the fact that they're all in one room together. But I've rearranged the tables and I've put chairs around it and I can see that I really can't squish in any more than 16. What are we going to do? Oh, God, we've got to find something. So I started looking at what it would cost to get a portable board in and all this sort of thing. And I came across the fact that the transport department were actually giving away the old trams. So Wilco and I are listed on the waiting list for what we have called the Sandringham teaching tram. And all aboard. Apparently all we have to work out is the transport fees, but we're on the waiting list for it, with some incredibly popular thing to actually ask for because they are being given away for free. But we are on the waiting list. We did write the proposal and we have put it in.
And because we've got two campuses, I'm thinking of running a line from one.
Good science in that, Wilco.
And our other limitation, and we were talking about it, I was talking with Naomi yesterday about it, is we want all our general science people to be here. But when we looked up of who's going to be in the class next year, and there was someone living in Seymour, we just thought that might be a little bit too far for them to drive. So we've got about 40, 45 students in our general science unit. So it's, so there's a limitation. But then again, if we can build capacity and build it around other methods as well.
And at the moment, Sandringham have been taking 32 of that group, so the majority do come here.
Great. One more question. Time for one more question. Or thought or comment. Maybe some of the students who have lived this would like to comment as well. Their experience would be nice to get a little bit more from that perspective.
We'll find out the truth.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Just the only thing, like, I feel like I missed out. The only thing, like,
You did.
I was there for compliment, like, oh, I'll be my best.
person, and I've felt that in the school that there's a bigger sense of community, and they have an open door policy for us, and they've allowed us to actually explore and go around. The teachers haven't closed doors on you even in other departments. So I think that's a big thing that I find that's been successful in this program.
As Wilco's past student, so I had Wilco as a teacher at this campus back in the day, and he was my year 7 science teacher. He was a really inspiring person to have as a year 7 science teacher. Very eccentric, but very good. And I got a placement email for my very first teaching round to start this year saying your mentor will be Andrew Wilkinson at Sandringham College 710 campus, and I was really, really excited. And yeah, it's been really awesome. I knew before I was even going to come here that I'd have a really good time, have a lot of support, someone who wanted to give students ideas, and yeah, it's been awesome.
What does that mean for you as a future teacher then?
I guess it's just really nice to know that you're in an environment that is learning from people who have a lot of experience but are still really inspired, and people that you know want to help you really grow and don't just feel obligated to do that whole ball and chain thing of just, okay, I have to look after them. Like Wilco's always coming in, giving us ideas, talking to us. I've had some classes where I've had some difficult situations and Wilco's giving me some ideas, and we talk about how I can maybe adopt these strategies in my classes to improve my practice. And yeah, so yeah, it's awesome.
I guess for me to finish is that it's not the Wilco show at all. There are a lot of science teachers that are committed to doing this, and that's, I mean, you can't do it without that commitment from your team. And I've got a really great team that is very supportive of the whole philosophy and what we're doing with Monash. So I just publicly like to thank my staff, and they're great. They're really good.
This has been primarily about the PSTs, but what about the kids? In the time that this has been running, what, if anything, have you noticed about how the kids, any effect, positive or otherwise? Or?
Yeah, that's a hard. Well, when they come out saying we'd rather have them than you, it's a hard question. I don't know. I really don't know if I can answer that. I can only think that it is a positive approach. The younger staff are bringing in the ICT and the different technology. They can relate to them more. They tend to, in the sport, they're with them, so they're actually mixing with them. These guys aren't isolated in their think tank by any means. So there's that social interaction as well. In terms of academic, they're bringing new ideas, new ways of teaching from Monash. So I really couldn't say, is it academically, are we increasing our academic knowledge in terms of kids? I honestly, I really couldn't say.
Can I make a comment?
Yep.
Listening to you. I think it's a really positive thing in letting the students in our schools see these amazingly fantastic pathways forward into a dynamic teaching career, a dynamic science teaching career. These student teachers they've got are loving it, and they've chosen it. They want to be in science. They want to teach, and we need that. We don't want, I'm going to choose to do this, but if I don't get into it, I'll do teaching. We don't want that. We want them to be going, I want to choose teaching. Look at these people we've got here coming to our schools. This is great. They're catalysts for our students coming through to say, teaching's one of my first choices. I want to be there.
Okay.
Following up and perhaps answering your question a bit, for me, you can't make a student learn who doesn't want to learn. Right? Learning has to be a two-way thing. And talking to Mari Claire today, she was chatting to me about the micro-peeps and the passion, and talking about how the kids were talking about it with other kids in the playground and in other classes, sharing what they'd learnt, taking that science out of the classroom, wanting to share it with their parents at home and stuff like that. That to me is amazing. To get kids like that, and I could see that Marie Claire suddenly had that real passion. You know, this is what teaching is about. Getting kids to think like that is what we all want to do, and you know, that's got to be positive. She's positive about it. They're positive about it. It's got to be a wonderful thing.
But again, I'd really like to thank the team for presenting. I'd really like to thank the team here at Sandy for having us and hosting us tonight, but also through the experience as well. Thanks to our lovely marketing team for supporting us over the year. And thanks to the science education team who turned out for, you know, all of these lectures and supported what's happening. And to all of you for coming. Many of you are familiar faces and have been to several of these seminars. So thanks for that. Enjoy your evening, and we'll be hanging around to chat a little bit more. Thanks very much.